Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Victoria here, aka During the Farm D, and I'm back with another video. Guys, you don't know how relieved I am to be done with this week, man. You think only engineers have Hell Week? Pharmacy students have it too, man. We really had a midterm this week every other day. So I had one on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we had like a practice, I should call it a practice lab. It's like a marked lab on Thursday. So it was just a really packed week, but like I'm relieved to be done, even though Monday we start a new week, but just enjoy living the moment. So that's what I'm doing right now. Anyways, yeah guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a Q&A. I know in a couple weeks people that are applying to pharmacy school start hearing back about interviews, as well as high school students are trying to choose their universities. So I thought, why not just shoot a video now, just help them out with their decision making, as well as planning for interviews and stuff like that. So yeah, I've compiled a list of questions. I got some of you guys to ask me some questions, as well as made up some of my own, and now I'm just going to answer some of them. So yeah, if any of this interests you, feel free, stick around, watch, and yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. So first question, how do you know if you got an interview or not? So like I said, in a couple weeks you should be hearing back from schools. They usually send an email, you check their like application portal, and you find out whether or not you got an interview. So yeah, typically that happens. Your interview takes place end of March, beginning or mid-April. Even some schools still interview in May. Next question is, how did I prepare for the interview? Now, okay, so I got an interview at U of T, and their interview format was called the MMI, which stands for multiple mini interviews. Now, how I went about prepping for that is my school at the time had a career website, so I basically went into how to prepare for pharmacy school interviews, and I found a bunch of like videos about MMI. So they basically had like people practicing how to answer questions and like the different kinds of questions they're gonna expect to see, as well as like different formats on how to answer that. So use that as a guideline to practice, as well as I went on like the internet and I searched up a bunch of like sample MMI questions and practiced with a bunch of people that were also applying to U of T at the same time. Yeah, we just met up. We all went to the same university. We just practiced with each other and like critiqued each other on how we did, etc., etc. Next question, structure of the interview. So I kind of answered that, but yeah, basically the interview I went for was a multiple mini interview, and basically what that is essentially is like a bunch of like interviews in one. So how the format of it goes is, for me there was like 12 or 10 stations. So basically stations at each door. So you go up to the door, you have 2 minutes to read the prompt on the door, you walk in, you have 6 minutes to answer the question. Once the timer goes up, you go to the next door and do the same thing, for depending how many do it. So I think it depends on school you're interviewing at, as well as the like type of program you're going into. So I know like I think medicine they did like 4 to 6, but us it was like I think 8 to 10 stations. So yeah, it really depends on the program as well as the school. Next question, how do they rank applicants? So for U of T pharmacy, how they rank applicants is they choose the top 240, and how they do that is based on your academics, so your GPA. Then they take into consideration like your marks in science courses, non-science courses, if you did any repeats. They also look at your PCAT score. Now the PCAT is the Pharmacy College Admissions Test, and it's basically like a standardized test that tests for different skill backgrounds that they'd like you to have prior to entering pharmacy. And depending on the school, they have different thresholds. So they use your grades, your PCAT score, as well as how you did on the interview, and they made up what's called an index score, so like an overall averaging. Sorry guys, I'm doing laundry. Yeah, so they do like an overall averaging of those 3 components, and then that's how they rank the top 240. Next question, when do you hear back from schools? So yeah, like I said, interviews happen anywhere from March to May, and then you should hear back from schools in June about whether you got it or not. And next question, so that was like all my questions for like the interview portion. If you guys want me to go more into specifics, please feel free to message me, email me, and I can do a more specific video on like each component. So like GPA, PCAT, like the actual admissions interview, I can go way more into detail about that. But yeah, those are the questions I have for that segment. Now I'm gonna move on to like before pharmacy school, like what I did to get in type of thing, like my program, extracurriculars, etc. So the first question I have is, what program were you in prior to pharmacy school? Now the program I was in prior to pharmacy school is called Honors Science. So basically it's a general science degree, although it's 4 years, so that's why it's called honors. But essentially what it allows you to do is to select the courses you want. So it gives you flexibility. As long as you choose predominantly science courses, you can choose whatever you want. So I basically chose that so I could get into pharmacy or apply to pharmacy as soon as I could, which was like beginning of second year. So that's what I did. Yeah, that just went into my next question. Why did I choose it? Yeah, it's super flexible and it allowed me to plan all my courses and my schedule so that I could get into pharmacy after second year. And third question is, what courses did you need to get into pharmacy? So it generally differs between schools. However, like the general courses that they look for pharmacy applicants are general chemistry, biology, microbiology, physiology, organic chemistry, calculus, statistics, humanity courses, and then some other courses depend on the school. Like for U of T, we have to take physical chem, but Waterloo Pharmacy doesn't require that. So yeah, if you want to know exactly what each school requires, I would suggest going to their admissions website to find out what specific prerequisites you need. But yeah, those are the general courses. Next question, what other requirements are needed to get in? So yeah, again, that differs depending on the school. Like for U of T, you needed the PCAT in addition to academics, but like somewhere like Waterloo, they wanted more experience. They want you to have experience, like work experience as well as pharmacy experience in addition to GPA, and they didn't require PCAT. So yeah, just like I said before, for more specific requirements on what each school requires, just check their website. Number 5, when did you know that you wanted to do pharmacy? So this is an interesting one. I knew in high school. So basically, I was in grade 10 and I was kind of like trying to figure out what I wanted to do because we had like civics and careers, and basically the careers portion was like, oh, all the potential jobs that you could do based on what you liked. So I knew I liked math and science, but I didn't know exactly like what. I knew healthcare sounded interesting, but I wasn't like too keen on a particular profession. So I talked to my mom, and she basically recommended pharmacy. So I'm like, this sounds interesting. So I do my research. Based on what I read, I liked it. And then in grade 11, I did a co-op term at a community pharmacy. And I was like, okay, maybe this is something I could do for the rest of my life. And that's kind of how I went about it. Next question. Timeline for application. So generally, how it goes is like August before the year you want to get in. So say you want to get into pharmacy September 2019. Applications are going to open up August 2018. Doesn't mean you have to apply then, but that's when they start opening up. Then you have till about December to pay application fee. For U of T, we had to do the PCAT, so they wanted the scores latest February. Then they use your information, basically your, I don't think they use GPA at that point, but like they want you to enter your marks that you've done as well as the courses that you're doing, and all of that should be done by April. But they basically use the information, make sure you completed your application, your PCAT scores, and they use that to choose who interviews. So I know for U of T, as long as you meet the threshold, I think they interview you. So then you hear back from them in about March, and the interviews start in March, and then they use final grade information as well as your PCAT score and your interview score, and they use that to rank applicants, and then they choose 240 or however many, depending on the school, in June. And yeah. Next question, how long is schooling for pharmacy? So that really differs depending on what you do prior to going to pharmacy school, but generally it can take about 6 to 8 years, so at least 2 years of undergrad, completing all the prerequisites, and then 4 to 5 years of pharmacy school. Okay, and then I have some other questions. So this is kind of about pharmacy, like now that I'm in pharmacy school. So the first question is, how do I like my program so far? Is interesting. So far I like my program. I like feeling like I have a sense of direction, because like I felt like when I was in undergrad, I was just like, I was taking general science. I was like, okay, if I do graduate in this, what can I do with this? But now that I'm in pharmacy, I know that once I graduate, do my licensing, I can become a pharmacist. So I feel like my life has more direction. So in that sense, I really like my program like that. As well as I just like what I'm studying. So seeing the connections to what I'm learning now and how they're going to apply in the future when I do become a pharmacist. The only thing I would say that's not too interesting is right now, because we're in first year, it's not really clinical. It's a bunch, I feel like it is like undergrad again, where it's like a bunch of like general science courses like biochemistry. Okay, pathophysiology is actually interesting, but yeah, I feel like a lot of these courses are just, they're just like basic level, like there's no clinical application to them. But we are starting to, especially this semester, we are starting to get more exposure to clinically relevant courses. Like we're taking a course called general medicine and pharmacotherapy, and it basically teaches you how to like draw up care plans, choose appropriate medications depending on the condition that the patient has. So that's really interesting. A lot of work, but really interesting. And we're also taking a course called medication therapy management, MTM, and it's basically a clinical practice lab where you're expected to do things that you could encounter in pharmacy. So like picking up phone calls, talking to physicians and other healthcare practitioners, using pharmacy databases or pharmacy software to fill prescriptions, checking prescriptions for accuracy, as well as counseling on drugs. So yeah, especially this semester, I feel like it's becoming more and more clinical. So I am starting to like my program more and more. And yeah, next question, opportunities post-grad. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have too much. Like I have a general sense. Like right now I'm hearing, oh, the pharmacy market is saturated. But I feel like, I can't say for everybody, like I feel like, okay, maybe there's some people that are gonna graduate and not get jobs. Maybe I'm one of them, I don't know. But I feel like use pharmacy school to the fullest of its potential. So there's opportunities like maybe going to visit sites and like networking events and things like that. Go and act up on those. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who's going to be your future employer. So just act on that, as well as taking your courses seriously, learning from them, so you can use them you can use the skills that you're learning to apply. Like I know we have our first rotations coming up this summer. It's called EPE. Can't remember the acronym, but like it's basically a pharmacy rotation 1 month in a pharmacy setting. So I feel like using the skills that we're learning now in class, as well as like the different on-campus opportunities that we have, using that, we can use that in our jobs to better ourselves, and essentially we could probably get hired after the placements. And if they like you so much, maybe you could get hired post-grad too. So I feel like, yeah, the market is saturated, but as long as you use your opportunities, build up your resume, I feel like there's a place for you, there's a job for you. And with pharmacy, like, I'm going to address this now because I feel like so many people, they don't really understand pharmacy. I feel like when they think of pharmacy, it's like your typical shoppers, your Rexall pharmacists, and like pharmacy is so much more. You can do that. That's like the main, what do you call it? The main specialty in pharmacy, yeah, let's call it that. But there's also hospital pharmacy. You can work as a hospital pharmacist. You can work in industry and manufacturing, as well as doing like drug testing, drug development. You can work, I've heard, in like army, with the government. You can even work outside of pharmacy with a pharmacy degree. It's really up to you. So I feel like if you want a job, there's a job for you. And yeah, I think with that brings me to the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys took something away from it. And yeah, if you guys, like I said before, if you want anything, you want me to go into more detail about something I spoke about in this video, feel free to shoot me a message and I'm happy to film something about it. But with that, yeah, that's the end of my video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Welcome to my private party.